Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Free Hour. It's your boy Trevor Turner. We're back with another video on the Free Hour ABCs, the ABCs of Tree. And today we are on the letter T. A through S has led us up to this point because we've been talking about mindset shifts. We've been talking about changes in beliefs. We've been talking about the way that our decisions and our habits affect our outcomes in our lives. We've been talking about positive self-talk. We've been talking about self-image. We've been talking about so many different things that just lead up to or are just other ways of explaining what it is that we're going to be talking about today, man. On the letter T, we're talking about transformation. We're going to be talking about what transformation is from a scientific point of view, from a book that I've read. We're going to be talking about key factors to successful transformation. And then we're going to be talking about practical strategies for personal transformation. This is not going to be from something I read. This is just going to be about the things that I have done, the things that I continue to do, the mindset that I have every day that I wake up, and the goals that I have, the things that I push for, that bigger yes inside of me, how to cultivate it, how to keep it stoked, how to keep that flame lit. And that is going to be our practical strategies. And then we're going to be talking about some real life examples of transformation. We're really going to be getting down to the nitty gritty of it because the reason I want to talk about real life examples and I want to talk about the things that I have done to find transformation is because transformation is achievable and attainable for literally anybody who wants it. I want to talk to you about how easy it is once you know that you need to change, once you find that desire and that want to change, how easy it is to actually do it. How everyone is capable of doing it. It's not a single person incapable of changing that their mindset, changing the way that they look at things, changing the way that they act on things, changing the way that they react to things, changing the way that they encounter and interact with and deal with the world. There is nothing stopping anybody from being capable of doing those things. And that is what we're going to talk about today. Transformation is possible for anyone willing to commit to personal growth and change. Transformation is possible for anyone who's willing to put in that work, for anyone who's willing to have the discipline to actually do it, to get to the action part of it, okay? So now let's start with understanding transformation. And we're going to get a little scientific on it. We're going to start with one of these books that I read. We're going to talk about James Prochaska's Stages of Change model. And this is from his book, Changing for Good, which he co-authored with John Norcross and Carlo Di Clemente. And this model outlines the phases that individuals go through as they change behavior. Now, what we're going to do as we talk about these changes is we're going to give specific examples from my transformation and put them through the lens of this model. Okay, and we're going to talk about perspectives, we're going to talk about behaviors, we're going to talk about habits and how they relate to these stages of transformation. And that is how we're going to get that in-depth understanding of what transformation is before we go on to the next part of how do we get there? How do we do it? So let's start with this changing for good. Stage 1, pre-contemplation. So at this stage, individuals are not yet considering change. They may be unaware of the need to change, or they may be in denial about it. Information and awareness are crucial at this stage to help individuals recognize the potential benefits of change. Now, the thing about pre-contemplation is a hindsight stage. Pre-contemplation is not necessarily a stage that you can look at someone else and apply this stage to them, because that other person may actually be living in that in a separate stage where they are mentally preparing to start changing, or they may not even need change in the way that we look at it. They may be going through life just completely satisfied with what's going on. Pre-contemplation stage is a stage that we can apply and look at our own self through it. So when my pre-contemplation stage lasted up until 2021, my pre-contemplation stage was a stage where I thought I was doing everything right. I thought everyone else was doing everything wrong. I was the one who was in that victim mentality. Everything that happened to me was a result of what somebody else was doing or what somebody else was saying or what somebody else was wishing on me, right? I was unaware that my thoughts were seeds that I was sowing to higher power, my destructive vibrations and frequencies, the destructive thoughts that I had that I was letting run rampant in my mind. I was unaware that those were seeds that I was sowing in my destructive and chaotic lifestyle, in the destructive and chaotic relationships that I had, in the destructive and chaotic friendships that I had, in the destructive and chaotic associations that I had. I was unaware that those things were brought about as a result of my own mindset, of my own beliefs, of my own choices. I mean, to a certain extent, yes, I knew that there were consequences for actions. However, I did not realize that every thought that you send out into the universe has a consequence, has a reaction, and has a result. Every seed that you sow through thought is going to come back to you, whether it's a negative thought or a positive thought. And when I was in my pre-contemplation stage, I was very, very negative. I was always blaming other people. I didn't have any type of gratitude or thankfulness for anything that I had in my life. I was always assuming that the worst was going to happen. And that is what I got as a result of my pre-contemplation. And my pre-contemplation ended not necessarily because of awareness, but because of information and because of a catalyst. That catalyst came in the form of a wake-up call. It was when I got arrested. But then even after I got arrested, I was still on that, no, she told on me, he told on me, it's their fault, it's not my fault. I was not taking responsibility for the results of my actions. It wasn't until somebody handed me a book and a conversation, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, to where I started to see that my thoughts actually had consequence. This is where the awareness started to come in, and I started to realize, like, okay, I did this, I know what I did, I know the actions that I took, and that is why I am in here today. But then I also started to see that I know what I thought, I know what I believed, I know what I constantly focused on in my mind, and that is why I was where I was at today. Not just in there, but in here, And that is where my pre-contemplation stage ended. Next, we're going to talk about contemplation. Individuals acknowledge the problem and begin to think seriously about solving it. However, they are not yet committed to taking action. Weighing the pros and cons of changing behavior is common, and individuals may remain in this stage for a long time. My contemplation stage did not last for very long. My contemplation stage, I feel like I got lucky for it because I was stuck in a place where I was on 23-hour lockdown because of COVID, right? Now, there's a difference when your actions cause you to be in a place like the hole or whatever the case, where you're on that type of lockdown. When your actions get you in the shoe, or when your actions get you in the hole, when your actions get you in AdSeg or whatever, and you're on 23-hour day lockdown, it is a difference from when you're just thrown in there and just kind of like, hey, this is what your program is now. And my contemplation stage was kind of like very, very short. Once the information and the awareness was there, my weighing my pros and cons was like a split second decision. Like I did not need any sort of push. I did not need anything like a second opinion. I did not need very much thought time to say that the pros of changing my mindset, the pros of finding purpose, the pros of finding something to go after that was not negative, the pros of cleaning up all of the bullshit that had dominated and infected my mind for so long. Because your mind is like a garden, your mind is like a lawn. And if you don't constantly and carefully try to keep out the invasive plants or weeds or whatever the case, they will run rampant and they will grow inadvertently. And when I saw where it had taken me, when I saw what the other options could be, the pros and cons thing was just like, the pros of changing, if I put them on a scale, it would have broke the scale. And the cons of changing were just like non-existent. Like at that point, I was in such a place, I was in such a rock bottom environment, such a rock bottom place mentally, such a rock bottom place emotionally, spiritually, all of that, that I did not have to take very much time weighing the pros and cons. And for me, that's why that's why I think a lot of people say that they have to hit rock bottom to finally start to really want to change, especially when it comes to things like addiction. When you hit that rock bottom, when there's literally no further down to go, and somebody has said this at a meeting that I went to the other day, and it said, like, how willing are you to, get on this new lifestyle? How willing are you to have this new mindset? How willing are you to change? And they said, when you're willing enough to drop them pants and start picking up lima beans with your ass cheeks, that's when you know that you're ready to change. Being in that cell 23 hours a day, I'm not going to say that I was like thinking like, oh, I'm willing to do this, stuff like that. But I was willing to do whatever it took to never be in that situation again, to never put my family through that situation again, to never be in such uncertainty at the state of my future and at the state of my life ever again. And to find that did not take anything but looking at things differently. It didn't take anything but just changing the way that I live my life. I was like, yeah, let's go. My contemplation stage didn't last very long, but you know what? I know for people, especially people who are out here living life, people who are out here and they have jobs. They're paying rent. They have a roof over their head. They are not addicted to drugs. They are not in these dire straits, but they know that they want something better. They know that they need something better. For them, taking that step might be a little bit more difficult. The pros and cons might actually kind of weigh out a little bit more evenly than mine did. And that's why people may remain in this stage for a long time. But if you're stuck in the contemplation stage, you got to remember, steady long, steady wrong. Scare money don't make no money. You got to start remembering what it was that made you start to think about wanting to change. And then you got to get ready to do it. And getting ready to do it is the next stage. We talk about preparation. Individuals are ready and planning to make a change within the near future. They start to take small steps toward change and believe that change is necessary. The approach to this is setting goals and developing an action plan. They're key activities during this stage. For me, I was able to get into, immediately get almost into this preparation stage, because what I did was with Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich helps you to contemplate and find what it is that you want to do with life in exchange for, financial well-being. And what happened is that I was able to kind of somehow find purpose with it. Basically what I'm doing right now, trying to help people. The way that I talk to people at the school, the way that I talk to people in my family, the way that I talk to people when I'm talking to people on this camera, the way that I'm going to be talking to people when I start doing these speaking engagements. I actually got my first one next month. And so I was able to start to make the action plan, start to set the goals, because I was ready. And I was planning to make that change in the near future. And for me, that change was actually something that I could start working on immediately. It's something to where I started writing down ideas for everything that I wanted to talk about. I started writing down little outlines for everything that I wanted to talk about. And I started to set these goals and develop this action plan of what it is that I wanted to do. The preparation stage is also something that's a stage that people can get stuck in for a very long time. Because this is a stage that's easy. It's easy to think about why it is you want to change. It's easy to think about what's going wrong. And then it's easy to say, well, you know what? If I were to change, this is how I would do it. It's easy to say, you know what? By next month, I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start working out. By New Year's resolution, January 1st, I'm going to go get that gym membership. It's easy to say these things to yourself up here. It's easy to do that. It's even easy to make that whole action plan, to make the step-by-step instructions that you're going to have yourself follow. It's easy just to make those things. This next stage is harder, because the next stage is action. Active steps are taken to change behavior, modify environment, overcome issues. This is the stage where people most overtly work on their behaviors. Strategies to reinforce commitment, such as seeking support from others and adjusting tactics based on what's working and what's not, are crucial. For me, this came in the form of reading. This came in the form of seeking all sorts of knowledge, but not only seeking that knowledge and just reading it, but putting it in action. So when I found the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, even though I was in prison and my days were pretty much the same, I started to schedule out my days, and I started to say that the roles that I wanted to do, I wanted to be somebody who made people feel better, who helped people do better, who broke things down in a way that everybody could understand. And not try to talk in circles like motivational speakers do, but try to break things down in a way that everyone can understand. And so I started scheduling out those times that I would do that. I started to find all these different things, like Benjamin Franklin's autobiography, when he talks about his 13-week cycle of doing these different things every day. And I started doing those things. I started taking the action. I started working out every day. I had to start slow. I was very out of shape. I couldn't run. Every time I hit that track, my knees hurt, my ankles hurt, my feet hurt, my head hurt, my spirit hurt, my soul hurt, everything hurt. But you know what? I just kept going short distances until I was able to go further and further, until I was able to finally breathe again. And then I started doing burpees, and then I started working out, and then I started trying to get my body right. And then once I got my body right on the strength tip, I started to adjust what I ate. I started to be mindful of the things that was working for me and making me feel better, helping me to have energy, and then being mindful of the things that were making me feel sluggish and kind of look sluggish and kind of feel like that mentally. And then I was kind of mindful of even the books that were working for me and what wasn't working for me, because obviously not everything is going to fit for you. You adjust according to you. You adjust according to the things that you take in, whether those things uplift you, whether those things offer strategies to help you, whether those things offer input that uplifts you. Does that input actually leave you somehow drained, or does that input just supercharge everything that it is you're going to be trying to do? And that is what you do. And then you get strategies to reinforce commitment. The strategies to reinforce commitment are some of the practical things we're going to be talking about in a little bit, such as seeking support from others. And one of the things that I do, what I was doing, is I was getting accountability partners. I was finding people who were on that same tip, on that same level, on that type shit up in the prison, up in the penitentiary. And all these people were on that same type shit. And those were the people that I surrounded myself with. And those are the people that even call me now, like, bro, I'm not going to be messing around with nobody else, man. They on some ignorant shit, blah, blah, blah. Like, you my advisor. You the one actually helping me try to do better. I'm going to be bouncing my ideas off of you, because I know that once I bounce the idea off of you, it's going to come back to me better. All that other stuff, because I found those people when I was locked up. When I was going through my infancy stage and my change and my mindset shift, I was bouncing all these ideas off of them, and they were taking them and saying, no, this ain't going to work. This part of it's bad, but this core is good. So let me add some good knowledge and wisdom to it and give it right back to you. And that was the importance of seeking support. And even in Think and Grow Rich, and the reason I talk about Think and Grow Rich so much is because it is the book that got me onto my contemplation and preparation stage. But even in Think and Grow Rich, they talk about the power of the mastermind. They talk about 2 heads being better than 1. They talk about whatever 2 or more ask for and agree upon on earth will be done in heaven. And it's important to have those people. Iron sharpens iron. It is important to have people to not only bounce your ideas off of. It is important to have people to hold you accountable, to help lift you up, and to help bring you down when your head is too big. It's important to have them people. And that's why I found those people, that support system. And even now I have it at work. I have it at school. I have it outside with the places that I go. I seek therapy. I go to meetings, all of those things. Because having those people is very, very important. So now the next step. And this is the stage that I would say that I am in now. Because I feel that my transformation is going to take as long as my negative lifestyle, which was a very long time. It was a long time. We're talking about maintenance. So having made significant changes, the focus shifts to maintaining these changes over the long term and preventing relapse. So approach, continued support, coping strategies, and avoiding triggers play a big role in maintaining new behaviors. So now when I talk about maintenance, I talk about continuing to grow for me, because I don't feel like I've reached the pinnacle of where I can go. My maintenance is a continual upward climb. My maintenance is continuing to learn. My maintenance is continuing to tweak and adjust and find where I'm getting complacent in certain things, saying, okay, like you're kind of slipping on this area. This is where you can boost and this is where you can bolster. This is where you're doing a little bit too much. Like for me, I found that I was doing a little bit too much screen time because, we had the tablets when we was locked up, but you don't got the same shit on the tablet that you got on this iPhone. You don't have TikTok, you don't got Instagram, you don't got Facebook, you don't got all of that. So one of the things that I found that I had to maintain was my screen time. And I had to replace it with getting back to the basics, reading. Trying to read on the phone, it was not working for me. So that's something that I cut out and went back to physical books. Then there were certain groups of people that I kind of saw myself like wanting to hang around with and seeing that that wasn't going to work. So I cut that back off, went back to the other thing that I was doing. Continuing to go to meetings, continuing to find new people to interact with who are on the same shit. Continuing to maintain and adopt these new mindsets. Continuing to better myself in those new mindsets that I've done. So like one of the things when I read The Miracle Morning, I engage in the savers that Hal Elrod talks about in The Miracle Morning. I do this every morning. I do those every morning, my bad. The savers: silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. I do those every morning. Now, if I were to consider myself to have gotten there, I would have stayed to where I was doing, 5 minutes of all of those things every morning, and that was it. But my maintenance includes doing more, because if my silence or my connection to my spiritual or my meditation was enough at 5 minutes to obliterate all of the negative thoughts from coming into my brain every day, then I would have stayed at that. But I noticed that it wasn't. I noticed that it helped me immensely. It helped me exponentially, but it did not do everything I needed it to do. So my maintenance is continuing to grind, continuing to rise on those things. So next we're going to talk about another step, and this is a step that a lot of you guys might get to, because I feel like, and I've said this before, I feel like the where I started was like down here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it was low. Where a lot of you guys are going to be starting is up here. So if my growth was here and you guys started that much higher than me, just think about how much further higher you can go. So a lot of you, I feel like, because my exponential growth is going to only, a lot of ways, my exponential growth is only going to put me on a level to where you guys were starting at. So to catch up with you guys after you've made your transformation, I have to still grow. But a lot of you guys, after you make your transformation, you can get to this step. This is the termination step. Once this stage is reached, the individual no longer feels tempted to revert to their old behavior. And the new behavior is now a permanent part of their life. And it says not all models include this stage, as many believe maintenance is an ongoing process. For me, maintenance is an ongoing process of improvement. And a lot of people, what's going to happen is that they're able to cut those old mindsets out completely. A lot of people aren't coming from a stage of addiction. They're just coming from a stage, a mindset of scarcity or a mindset of lack. And they're able to cut that shit out immediately and go to a mindset of abundance, to go to more willpower, to go to more discipline. Instead of searching for motivation, they're able to go to discipline, and they're able to achieve just immensely and amazingly, and they're able to walk around with a smile on their face. Those are the people who can reach that termination stage. And that's not something that I feel like I'm there yet, but it is part of the thing. Like that is something that is something that we can look at with hope, is that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Like for a lot of people, once you make these transformative changes, like you're done. You don't have to continue always and continuously like be on your guard against that bullshit. For a lot of us, there is an end to that rainbow. There is something that we can end at. There is an end point. And that endpoint is that happily ever after. So we've talked about understanding what transformation, we've talked about these steps, we've talked about some key factors in it. So let's talk about practical strategies. And this isn't going to come from a book. Well, the stuff is going to come from where some of the places that I found it. But for me, transformation came with starting with the end in mind. Transformation came with setting goals and setting a purpose. Transformation came when I found something to transform for. Because I was living my life pretty aimlessly. I was just getting up, going to do what I was doing to make some money. That was the purpose, but then there was no purpose for the money. So it was a purposeless purpose. There was no goal for the money. There was no end game in mind. There was just every single day the same thing, and that's how I was living. When I was able to finally slow down, when I was able to finally be sat down and set clear, achievable goals, that is when I feel like my transformation began. And the importance of having something to shoot for, the importance of having something to go after in transformation is something I can't even really explain. Because when I had a reason to change my mind was changed. When I had a reason to change my habits changed. When I had a reason to change my beliefs, when I had a reason to change my choices, when I had a reason to enact discipline in my life, all of those things just fell into place. Like the impact of having goals, the impact of having real, attainable goals that you consistently and constantly tell yourself that you can get to, you will get to, you know when you'll get to it, you know how you get to it, that will change your life and just put it on rails, like put it on a track, and you will just get to it. You will just get after it every single day, knowing that these goals are something that are going to be, it's going to be way over there. It's going to be way over there. But guess what? It's attainable. It's attainable. It's achievable. And all it takes is one step. It might be one step every day. It might be 5 steps every day. It might be 100 steps today. It might be 10 steps the next day. But you know what? The fact that you have something to walk towards is so important. It's so important. I can't even explain how important it is for transformation. The next practical strategy is mindset. And we talk about the need for a growth mindset. And I talked about it earlier. I also talked about an abundance mindset and a scarcity mindset. Mindset shifts come when you start utilizing and using things like affirmations. Mindset shift comes when you start using things like positive self-talk. But mindset shift also comes when you start doing things like being present and you start being accepting of who you are, flaws and all, who you are, detriments and all, who you are, those things that you hate about yourself, and just accepting the fact that those are a part of yourself. And those things that you hate about yourself might not even be part of the makeup of who you are. It may be a physical. It may be a personality trait. It may be the way your voice sounds on camera. It may be one of those things. And when you start to shift your mindset and you start to have a growth mindset is a mindset that believes that you can continually get better. That you, with all of your flaws, that you, with all of your drawbacks, that you, with all of your negatives, with all those things that you tick off on the bad column, every time you think about yourself and every time you look at yourself, that person can always and continuously get better no matter what. That is a growth mindset. That is an abundance mindset. It goes along with the abundance mindset because the abundance mindset says that there is enough to go around. The abundance mindset says that there is enough for me to be happy, that there is enough for me to live, that there is enough for me and everyone else to do what we need to do and take care of our families. And that the growth mindset goes along with it, saying that me, with all of the things that I hate about myself, if I can just accept them, that I can always get better, then I can always be bigger, that I can always dream bigger, that I can always do bigger, that I can always do better and be better. So next we talk about habits and we talk about routines. So for me, this was actually kind of, I mean, when I thought about it, when I think about it now, it was actually a little bit more difficult to find good habits and good routines, even though I was in a place where, I was kind of forced into having good habits and routines, because maintaining those things when I got out is where I came across my the difficulties, because it's easy to, when you don't have a job, you don't have nowhere to go, you don't have nothing going on, you haven't gotten into school yet because the prison is closing, you haven't gotten any groups or whatever because they're all full and they all have a wait list. It's easy to wake up early in the morning, go to breakfast, eat healthy. It's easy to come back from that, drink a cup of coffee, stay awake, watch the news, get informed, and then read after that, because there's literally nothing else to do. And then after you get done reading, that's about the time that the other people start getting up and getting moving. And guess what time it is now? It's time to work out. There's nothing else to do. So you work out. Then you get in there, you take a shower, you wash your clothes that you worked out in, you go hang everything up, you kind of chill for a little bit, and then while you're chilling, because it ain't nothing else to do, you get into a book again, or you get into creating again, or you get into writing again, or you get into something positive and constructive, and you get into these rock solid routines when you're locked up, because there's literally nothing else to do. Now, when you're on the streets, when you are living life, when you got kids around, when you got 2 jobs that you got to get to, when you got to ride your bike 20 minutes to the bus every morning, and then the bus takes an hour to get to work, and then you got 30 minutes between both of your jobs, and then you get on the bus to take it home, and it takes an hour and a half to get home, and then it's like a 5-10 minute bike ride home to get to the house, and you got to be up at 4:30 in the morning, and you just made it back to the house like 7:30, almost 8 o'clock. Like, it's a little bit more difficult to enact good habits and routines. But what made it happen for me was going back to those goals, was going back to that bigger yes. Because there are days when I have zero motivation. But what do I do when I have zero motivation? I just do it. What do I do when I got zero motivation and I got these 2 heavy ass backpacks on me all day, and I'm riding my bike from the bus with these 2 heavy ass backpacks, and the bus stops, like the bus ends at the gym. The bus ends at the gym. And let me tell you how many excuses my mind has for not going to that gym that the bus ends at. Like, it's a million and one different excuses. The last stop at the bus is like, it's a McDonald's right here, it's a gym right here, and then the street going down to my house. And there are so many excuses why I don't need to go to that gym. Oh, it's too late. You missed the bus that you were supposed to get to. You caught this bus. It's already too late. You got to be in bed in an hour. You're not going to have time. You got homework to do. You have all of these things going on. And you know what? Habits and routines come from that burning desire, that inner yes within me that says this is just what we do. This is what late nights look for us now. This is what late nights look like for us now. Late nights don't look like staying up drinking. Late nights don't look like staying up partying. Late nights don't look like trying to go out and find some females to bring home. Late nights look like getting off the bus a little bit late, hitting that gym, getting out late, getting home and doing homework till late. That's what late nights look like for us, because that is just what we do. And that is the only thing sometimes, 60 to 70% of the time, that is literally the only thing that is going to get you through that day and get you through that activity and get you started on doing what it is that you know you need to be doing to get to your goals. It's literally just that one voice in your head arguing with the millions of voices in your head that says you shouldn't be doing this, you don't want to do this, why don't you just go get some ice cream, why don't you just go drink a nice cold soda, it's hot, it's 100 degrees. You have that one voice in there saying, no, this is just what we do now. This is what we do now. This is what is going to take us to our goals. This is what is going to get us to where we want to go. And you just do it. You just do it. And here's the thing about it. Everybody thinks that you need to go into that gym and you need to crush it every single time. You need to be in that gym for hours and you need to hit a personal record and you need to just come out of there just feeling like, oh, I killed that shit every single time, covered in sweat, or everybody's looking at you like you done really killed that shit. No, you just need to get in that motherfucker and lift some weight. It could be less weight than you normally lift because you ain't got the energy for it that day. You could run a mile instead of the 2 miles that you run or the 5 miles that you run. But what it is just about getting in there, and it's just about doing it. And I know I've said a lot about trying to find motivation. I've said a lot about those ifs, about like, if you want to get to here, this is what you'll do. A lot of those inner yeses and things like that. But at the end of the day, when it comes to habits and routines, it's just about starting. And then after a while, it's about continuing. And then after a while, it's just what you do. It's just what you do. But you have to start. You have to get there. You have to get to action. Transformation is really about that first step. That's really what transformation is about. Transformation is not necessarily about the end result of where it is that you're trying to go. Transformation is about the first step that you're going to take today, the first step that you're going to take tomorrow, and the second step that you're going to take the next day after that. It's about going to get that gym membership and going to do that first workout, and then going to do the second workout the next day, and then going to do the third workout the next day. Transformation is about all these little victories, about all these little wins that just add up to being the world champion, that add up to being the best, that add up to you being the best version of yourself, the version of yourself that you know you can be, the version of yourself that you know you have to be to achieve the goals that you always dreamed of. That is what transformation is about. And that is the most practical advice that I can give anybody about transformation is that first step. Transformation is that first step. And then that second step, and then that third step, and then that fourth step. Transformation is one more day. You don't have to think about where you're going to be at the end of the year. You don't have to think about where you're going to be at the end of 2 years. You don't have to think about bringing something like this home. You just have to think about making it to class today, making it to class the next day, doing the assignments today, doing an assignment the next day. You don't have to think about writing that whole book. You just have to think about that page today, the next page the next day, the third page the day after that. Transformation is about every step you take that leads towards an end goal until it becomes so ingrained that you step without thinking, that all you have to do is think about the minor adjustments and the minor tweaks, that all you have to do is to say, hey, you know what? I've been doing chest on this day so long. Let me start a push-pull split. But it's not about arguing with yourself about getting to the gym. It's about taking so many steps that you're already just taking that step. Every time you wake up, you're just taking that step. You're not hitting the snooze button because that's not what you do. You just get up when the alarm goes off, even if you're tired, even if you got to be in there brushing your teeth, half asleep like this, even if you got to be in there showering like this, because that's just what you do. It's like when I talk to people and I say, yeah, I got to ride the bike to school in the morning. There are a lot of people in the world who ride their bike to school in the morning. But I live in such a car-centered place, in a car-centric place. Like public transportation is not very good where I'm at. So like they're like, oh my God, you must got good leg strength. And blah, blah. It's just what I do. Because I know that I have to be present where I'm at that time that I said I was going to be to reach my end goals. It's just what I do. It's that step that I take every single day. And even on the days that I don't feel like, especially on the days that I don't feel like it, I take that step. Being in the gym and getting to where I want to be and getting the body that I want and getting the health that I want, it's just what I do. Even especially on the days that I don't want to do it. I just get in the gym and I do it. And that's what transformation is. And transformation is attainable for anybody who wants it. And that's what I'm here to tell y'all. So thank you once again. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching the free hours. It's been your boy Trevor Turner. Hey, look, man, if you have any experiences with transformation and you come across this video or one of the little shorts that I chop up, make sure to tell us about it. Make sure to tell us how you did it. Make sure to share some thoughts with us. Make sure to tell me if you fucking like this video. To make sure to tell me if you hate the video. Whatever. Share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel, man, and come back for more. Come back for the next one. Deuces.